Chapter 4. A Fine Camping Place. Toby had put all the camping out gear in a nearby barn. He took the five there, with Benny and the pigling trailing after. Binky came too, so friendly now with Timmy that they trotted along side by side, occasionally pushing against each other like schoolboys. Julian and Dick looked at the pile of canvas, the pegs and the ropes. Yes, these two tents would do very well, though if the weather stayed like this, they would hardly need tents. They could lay their rugs out on the springy heather. "This is fine, Toby," said Julian gratefully. "You've even provided a kettle and a frying pan." "Well, you might want to cook a meal," said Toby, "or boil soup. There's a saucepan for that. Ah, here it is." He picked it up and promptly put it on Benny's head, where it stuck tightly on his yellow curls. Benny yelled and ran at Toby, hitting him with his fist. The little pig rushed away in fright and disappeared round a corner. Anne took the saucepan off poor Benny's head. "You're all right," she said. "It was a funny hat to wear, wasn't it?" "Curly's run away again," wept Benny, and he pummeled the laughing Toby. "I hate you, I hate you." "You go and find him," said Toby, fending off the angry small boy, and Benny ran off on his fat little legs. "Well, we've got rid of him for a few minutes," said Toby. "Now, is there anything I have forgotten? You've got torches, I suppose. What about candles and matches?" "We've got those too," said Dick. "And we've brought mats and swimsuits, but that's about all. I see you've put a couple of rugs here as well in case we are cold." "Well, it might turn wet and chilly," said Toby. "Of course, if it snows or anything like that, you'll have to come and borrow some more rugs. Now, shall I help you to fix them on your bikes?" It was too difficult to fix everything onto the 4 bikes, and in the end, Toby found a hand cart, and the children piled everything into that. "We'll fetch our bikes some other time," said Julian. "Leave them here," said Toby. "They'll be all right. Are you going now?" "Well, I'll get a package Mother's got ready for you. You know, ham and new laid eggs and bread and butter and the rest." "It's most awfully good of her," said Julian gratefully. "Well, let's start. We've got everything in the hand cart now. We'll just wait for the food. Dick, you and I can push this hand cart together if you need 2 of us up the hill, and I vote we camp on the side of the slope somewhere so that we can get a good view." Toby came back with an enormous package of food. Benny came with him, Curly trotting behind. Benny carried a basket of ripe strawberries. "I picked them for you," he said, and handed them to Anne. "What beauties," she said, and gave the smiling child a hug. "We shall enjoy them, Benny." "Can I come and see your camp where you builded it?" he asked. "Can I bring Curly? He's never seen a camp." "Yes, of course you can," said Anne. "Are we ready now, Julian? What about milk? Mrs. Thomas said we could take some." "Oh yes, I forgot that," said Toby. "It's in the dairy." He sped off with Binky, and the others arranged everything neatly in the useful little hand cart. Toby came back with the milk, 2 big bottles. They were stacked carefully in a corner of the cart. "Well, we are ready now, I think," said Julian, and he and Dick began to push the cart down the path to the gate. Timmy and Blinky trotted on ahead, and everyone else followed. Benny came as far as the gate with Curly, then Toby sent him back. "You know what Mother said, Benny," he said. "You are not to come with us now. It will be too late when Binky and I come back." Benny's mouth went down, but he didn't attempt to follow them. He picked Curly up in his arms in case the pigling should run away after the others. "Benny's a pet," said Anne, I wish I had a little brother like that. He's all right, said Toby. A bit of a crybaby though. I am trying to bring him up properly, teasing him out of his babyishness and making him stand on his own feet. He seems to be able to do that all right, said Dick. My word, the way he went for you when you put that saucepan on his head. He pummeled you right and left. Benny is a funny little kid, said Toby, giving a hand with the cart as they reached the slope of the hill. He is always having queer pets. 2 years ago, he had a lamb that followed him everywhere. Last year, he had 2 goslings that followed him about. And when they grew into geese, they still followed him. They waddled all the way upstairs one day. And this year, he's got a pig, said George, who, like Anne, was very much amused with Benny. Don't you think Timmy was very funny with Curly? I'm sure he still thinks it's a puppy without any hair. They made their way up the hill, following a narrow sheep path. The hand cart bumped and wobbled, and soon it needed 4 or 5 pairs of hands to push it. How much farther? Panted Toby at last. Surely you're not going right to the top? No, said Julian, about halfway up. We do want to have a good view, Toby, not very much farther up, I should think, but let's have a bit of rest, shall we? They sat down, glad to get their breath. Certainly the view was magnificent. Far away on the horizon were purplish hills, and in front of them stretched miles and miles of green and golden countryside. Green for growing corn and grass, gold for the buttercups which were at their best in the sunny week of June. I like those silvery threads here and there winding about the green fields, said Anne. Little streams or rivers curving like snakes all about. And I like the dark green patches that are woods. What's that just down there? Asked George, pointing to what looked like an enormous field with great sheds in the center. That's an airfield, said Toby promptly. A bit hush-hush. Secret planes tried out and all that. I know all about it because a cousin of mine is there. He is a flight lieutenant. He comes to see us sometimes and tells me things. It's an experimental place. What's that exactly? Asked Anne. Well, where new ideas are tried out, said Toby. They mostly deal with very small planes down there. One-man fighter planes, I think. Don't be scared if you hear noises from the airfield sometimes, bangs and bursts. I don't know what they are, of course. It's all to do with their experiments. I wish I could visit the airfield, said Dick. I'm keen on planes. I'm going to fly one when I'm older. You'd better meet my cousin then, said Toby. He might take you up in one. I should like to meet him, said Dick, delighted. So would Julian. We'd better get on now, said Julian, standing up. We won't go much higher. The view can't be much better anywhere else. George and Anne went on ahead to find a good camping place while the 3 boys pushed the cart slowly over the heather. But it was Timmy who found the right place. He ran on ahead feeling thirsty, so when he heard the sound of running water, he ran to it at once. From under a jutting rock gushed a little spring. It rippled down a rocky shelf and lost itself in a mass of lush greenery below. Rushes grew to mark the way it went, and George's sharp eyes could follow its path for quite a long while down the hill, outlined by dark line of rushes. Julian, look what Timmy's found, she called as she watched him lap from the clear spring water. A little spring gushing out of the hillside. Hadn't we better camp near it? Jolly good idea, shouted back Julian, and left the handcart to come and see. Yes, this is just the place, a fine view, plenty of spring heather to camp on and water laid on quite near. Everyone agreed that it was a fine place, and soon all the gear was taken from the handcart. The tents were not erected, for everyone meant to sleep under the stars that night. The evening was so warm, nobody wanted to lie in a stuffy tent. Anne unpacked the food parcel, wondering where would be the coolest place for a larder. She went over to the rock from which gushed the crystal clear spring water. She pushed away the rushes around and discovered a kind of small cave hollowed out of the rock below the spring. It would be as cool as anything in here, thought Anne, and put her hand through the falling water into a cave-like hole. Yes, it was icy cold. Was it big enough to hold the milk bottles and everything? Just about, she thought. Anne loved arranging anything, and she was soon at work putting away the food and the milk into her pure larder. George laughed when she saw it. Just like you, Anne, she said. Well, we'll better put up a towel by the spring, for certainly we shall get soaked every time we get out any food. Tell Timmy he's not to try and poke his head into my larder, said Anne, pushing Timmy away. Oh, now he's all wet. Go and shake yourself somewhere else, Timmy. You are showering me with drops of water. Toby had to leave them, for it was already past his supper time. See you tomorrow, he said. How I wish I was staying up here with you. So long. Away he went down the hill with Binky at his heels. The five looked at one another and grinned. He's nice, but it's good to be alone again, just us, five, said George. Come on, let's settle in. This is the best camp we've ever had.